Hello, welcome to our third video, Introduction to Conditional Statements, where we're exploring how to write conditional statements in Java, specifically the if structure. In our first video we talked about the basic if structure here, and then in our second video we added an else structure to that, which checks for all the additional cases. Now we're going to add what's called an else if structure. This is a particularly useful addition when we want to check a couple things. And I'll say this now, so you keep this in the back of your head. It's really important when you're working through a problem to think of the order that you check conditions. It can have an effect at how efficient your code is. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So let's dive into our program, shall we? So our program right now simply says, asks the user to input a variable, input a passcode. If they type in the passcode 105, access is granted. They run this again. If they input a passcode 999, access code incorrect. Let me change my commenting here from an earlier. Actually, let's do this. There we go. Earlier one, I forgot to change that. So if I type in an incorrect passcode, it fails this condition and jumps to the else. Now let's imagine, please input a 3-digit passcode. So let's imagine now that it's a little more specific. And if I run this, if I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, what I want the program to do now, let's drag that over, is I want it to give a little more feedback to the user. And what I mean by that is I want it to tell the user if they've typed in a number that's larger than 3 digits. So what we can use now is called an else if structure. So to do this, what we do is the following. We go right after the if structure and we put an else if. This else if is tied to the original if structure. You always have to start with an if statement and then kind of string them together. And it's going to, the computer will check them in sequence. So now we're going to say else if A is greater than 1 or 999. Because what this is going to do is if A is 1,000, it meets this condition. And then any number larger than 1,000, it meets this condition. And if it's greater than 999, I'm going to go system.out.println access code too big. Scroll down a bit. So if I run this now, it works just like before, 105, access granted. But if I put in a number such as 1,000, it gives me a different statement. But notice that it didn't print out the else statement. Because what it does is the computer will start and initially check this condition. If it fails this condition, it will go to the end of the brace that's paired with it. So these braces pair. And then if there's an else if, it will check the following condition. If it fails this condition, it will skip that code block and go down to here and then check the next thing in line, which in this case is an else. So if the computer makes it to this else, it automatically prints out access code incorrect. However, if it passes this condition, it will enter its code block and it will print out access granted. And when it gets to the end of the code block, what it then does is it jumps all other code blocks associated with this if structure. So a nice thing to note is I could add as many else ifs as I want. I could do something like this. Else if, what if A is less than 100? I can say something like this. Access code too small. So now, if I run this, if I put in a number like 99, it gives me that specific feedback. So one of the things we want to start thinking about as we go forward is when we're actually start to string together ifs and else ifs, always think about the best order to check your conditions, because in a number of problems, specifically contest problems, the order that you check a condition has an effect on how easily you can work through that problem. I hope this video helped.